Today, let's talk about lookup columns in Coda. Lookup columns sometimes are referred to as relational columns. At the end of the day, all that it means is that you have a column in your table and you're looking up to another table. So when might this be useful? Well, say we're having a project and we have a project database all set up and we want the project to be able to have multiple tasks. Well, it doesn't quite make sense to have our rows in our project table also be the same table that we store our tasks. And so in this case, it might make sense to have two tables that are working together. One table that just stores our project and the other table that just stores our tasks. And to make them link together so that it looks like they're all one, we would use what's called a lookup column for the projects to look up to our tasks. Another example might be if you have a client, say a client's going to have multiple invoices, but there's only going to be one client and multiple invoices. So we would use a lookup column on the clients table to look up to our invoice table to reference the multiple invoices that are assigned to the client, if that makes sense. There's a bunch of different ways you can go about this. Say you had like a menu within Coda. The menu could have different variations for each line item, and you would use a lookup column to achieve that. There's a bunch of different scenarios, but let's look at the first example that we set out with multiple projects and tasks. You can see this sample table here that we built, just 1, 2, 3 projects, and then we have another table here for tasks. If we look into the projects, here, this is just a sample project. We have the project name, a due date, and then here we have a lookup column that's looking to our 1, 2, 3 tasks table. In here, we'll see that we're looking up everything that's within the task table. So down here, this is the source table. So we have our task column, due date, assigned to, and related project. And we can see all that info is being pulled over here in our sample project. And you'll see here, it's the related project right now is looking up to this project right now. So the sample project is the same project that's open in this detailed view here. But we'll see if we go to the Walking Dog Initiative project, there aren't any tasks. But what happens if we create a new task? Is it going to add to the previous project that we're just on? Well, no. So we'll see if we add it here. Now, this is populated with the current row in the projects lookup column in the related project. So we could title this something random, and we'll see that it does not carry over here. I probably should use a different name so it's not confusing, but we'll see the related project is different and that this is being filtered through different tasks. But we can see down here in the task database, all of them are together, but because we have filters on our initial project, it's only going to show us certain columns. And so this is how you can use a lookup column in its fullest, where say instead of a project, say this was a client's page, and this was just showing all of the invoices that the client has. There's of course a bunch of different scenarios you can have for this. But let's look at how to make it and exactly how to structure a lookup column to only show, for example, certain tasks and certain projects. So let's start here. The foundation, of course, you're going to need two tables. So let's go ahead and create those. So we're going to have our first table that's our projects table. And then we're going to create another table that will be our tasks table. So we're just going to call this tasks. Let's go ahead and fill out some of the columns. So this is going to be project name. Let's say we're going to have a due date. And let's say who it's assigned to. And then this last one is going to be our tasks lookup column. In this case, I'm going to call it the related tasks. Okay, we're just going to leave that for now. We're going to change these column types in a bit. Let's go ahead and fill out our tasks first, though. So we're going to have our initial task, make that singular. We'll say we want a due date. Let's say here we want to assign to. And then here, we're going to want another field. And this field is going to tell us where this specific task is related to in terms of the project. So we're going to call this our related project. Okay, so let's go back to the projects. Let's fill out our column types. This one's good. Due date can be changed to the date. Assigned to can be a user. a people column. And then for the related tasks, what we're going to do is we're going to set this column to look up to our task table. So if we go here, we can go to the bottom, go to the lookup section. And now this is going to look up all of our tables that we have within our doc. So in this case, we titled this table the tasks. So we're going to click on the tasks. And you're going to see here, it doesn't auto-populate or anything. So if we actually name these tasks, so we have sample task 1, sample task 2, and then 3. So now if we wanted to look up at tasks, well, we can do that. And it's going to show all of our entries here. The way that it gets the name for these is whatever the display column is set to. So we can see this little bookmark. And if we right click on this, we'll see there's an option. I guess not on this one because it is the display column. Say we wanted the due date. Let's change this to the date. Let's say we wanted this to be the display column. Well, we could set that to be the display column, and now it would show like the date as the name, but we're gonna leave it to how it was. So I'm just gonna right click on this, show the display column. So now if we looked up here, we can select any of these, and this is what we want, but we'll see if we actually expand this row, it's only showing like the little pill of it. It's not showing like the entire tasks. We can actually change this. So let's go ahead and edit our layout here and make it look a little nicer. I'm going to have these be side by side. And what we can do within the related tasks column, and this is on the projects database, is we can allow multiple selections. And this is really useful, and this is what's going to allow us to show multiple tasks instead of one. But it also enables the ability to view this in a table format. So you see this little option comes up with table. If we turn this off, you'll see it disappears. But if we have multiple selections enabled, it'll appear. So let's go ahead and enable that. And there, let me make that smaller. You'll see now we have our table format. So we can see everything that was like in the source table, but we can see it here. So this is great. So we see our related tasks here, but right now we don't have anything configured for our related project. So there's no way for our projects related task column to tell which task is associated to which project. So we need to go ahead and change that. So let's go here, and we're going to do the same thing that we did with the related tasks column, but instead we're going to look up to our projects table. So now that we're in our projects table, if I name the projects, so project number 1, project number 2, and then project number 3. Now if we looked it up, we can see all of those there. So now these are successfully being referenced, but we'll see something doesn't quite make sense. So right now we're seeing all of our tasks for all of our projects. So this should only be related to project number 2, yet we're still seeing it in project number 1. So how do we fix that? Well, that's where we use a little bit of formulas. So let's go ahead and edit our view real quick. And within here, what we can do is we can add a formula. And this formula is going to force any tasks that are viewed in here to have the related project column equal this row. And so in this case, that would mean it's going to force this task to take on project 1 instead of project 2. So let's go ahead and implement that. So we're going to add a formula, and what we're going to do is we're going to filter through our tasks database. So we're just going to look up our tasks table, which would be right here, and we're going to filter it. So we're going to type in filter, I'm going to push tab to autofill, and we're going to say if we're going to filter it by if the related project is equal to this row. So what we're doing is we're looking at the task database, we're filtering it so that the related project column is going to be equal to this row. And we'll see if we enter that, it's going to make the other one disappear. But if we add a new task in here, it's going to auto-populate. Real quick though, make sure you refresh. So if you're, whenever you make that change, it allows you to auto add tasks, but you need to refresh so that the new row, or initially it says to choose a row, but if you refresh, it'll let you do a new row. So now if we do a new row, you'll see it successfully got our project 1. So if we name this just dogs, we can add as many rows as we want, and we'll see all of it's with the correct project. And let's go ahead and look at project number 2. We'll see here, now it's only showing project number 2. And if we add a new row, it's going to successfully make the related row. And we can see here in our database, all of the new ones that we created have the correct related project with them, but they're all looking up to the projects database. And so now we're able to have a singular project with related tasks, and they're all going to be filtered with the relevant project. And so what a lot of people do is they'll hide the column for the related project. We can make this a little nicer. Let's go ahead and change the column types to be correct. So we could say this is assigned to me. We'll just pick a due date of next week. Can make this look nice. Something like this. And then we can delete all these extras. Cool. So now it looks just like you would expect it to. And we can add as many tasks as we want, and they're all going to be sectioned off to the correct project. So this is just a quick overview of how it works. There's a bunch of cool things you can do. Usually the idea of relating tables to another table is done in a one-to-many basis. And that's in the sense of, like, we'd have one project that has many tasks, or one client with many invoices, or one invoice with many billable items. But you can mix it up in many different ways. And theoretically, you could do like many invoices to many billable items, but then it gets a little murky into how all of it interacts. You just have to play with your filters a lot. But other than that, that's a good overview. I hope you learned something. Let me know if you want any specific tutorials done in the future or any docs to be made. Thanks for watching.